My name is Evelyn Grace Morgan, and I am 88 years old. When you reach my age, time behaves strangely. Whole decades blur together, but one night, one moment can stay sharp forever. For me, that moment happened at a Nashville train station in the winter of 1961. I was 22, living with my older sister after our parents passed. She depended on me, bills, groceries, the day-to-day burdens of life. I didn't resent her, but I did feel trapped in a life I hadn't chosen. That night, after a long shift at the diner, I walked into the train station simply to warm myself. Cold wind swept through every open door, carrying the far-off twang of a country guitar from the street outside. The station was nearly empty, just a man sweeping, an elderly couple holding hands, and one young man sitting on a bench with a worn duffel bag at his feet. He looked up when I walked in, and just like that, there was electricity. Not lightning, not fire, just a soft, steady warmth, the kind you feel when someone sees the part of you you've kept hidden. He gave me a small smile. I wouldn't have gone near him if he hadn't looked so gentle. Tired, yes, but kind. "Cold night," he said softly. "It's Tennessee. It gets moody." He laughed, and the sound eased something in me. He gestured to the bench. "Sit. You look like your feet need a rest." I sat, carefully, ready to bolt if needed. "I'm Jack," he said, "Jack Ryland, going west tonight." "I'm Evelyn, going nowhere tonight." He nodded slowly, as if he understood the meaning behind my words. We talked. About nothing, about everything. He told me he'd been traveling for months, taking odd jobs from town to town. Searching, he said, though he didn't know for what. I told him about the diner, about my sister, about feeling like my life had shrunk around me. He looked at me with such quiet understanding that it made my throat tighten. "You ever think about leaving?" he asked. "All the time," I admitted, "but thinking is as far as I get." He studied me for a long moment. "My train leaves in an hour," he said softly. "If you wanted to, you could come with me." The words hit me like a wave. I stared at him. "You don't even know me." He smiled. "I know enough. You're kind, you're strong, you're tired, and you're braver than you realize." My heart pounded. The part of me that had been whispering for years, "Run, choose yourself, please choose yourself," suddenly grew louder. "What would we even do?" I asked. "We'd figure it out. No promises, no guarantees, just freedom together." My breath trembled. I imagined it, the train, the horizon, the escape. I wanted it more than I'd ever wanted anything else. But reality crumbles when Natlin knocks. My sister, her failing health, her complete dependence on me. "I can't," I whispered. Jack exhaled, closing his eyes for a moment. Not angry, not disappointed, just sad. "You have someone who needs you," he said quietly. "Yes." He nodded. "That tells me all I need to know about who you are." We sat in silence, two people whose lives touched only briefly, but deeply. Then he reached into his bag and pulled out a small silver harmonica. "This got me through a lot of lonely nights," he said, placing it gently in my hands. "Maybe it'll do the same for you." "Jack, I can't take this." "Sure you can," he smiled softly. "When I see a harmonica, I'll think of you. When you hear one, maybe you'll think of me." Tears filled my eyes. The loudspeaker crackled. "Last call for westbound train." Jack stood slowly. Then he looked at me as if trying to take in everything he could in one last moment. "If life ever changes," he whispered, "find me." I didn't move. I couldn't. He stepped back, paused, then pressed a soft kiss to my forehead, the gentlest, saddest kiss I've ever felt. And without another word, he turned and boarded the train. I watched it pull away, its lights fading into the night, taking with it the man who offered me a different life. Years passed. I cared for my sister until she died. I married someone stable, kind, practical. We raised children. We built a home. But some nights when the house was quiet, I'd take out that harmonica and hold it, feeling the echo of a life I never lived, but still somehow belonged to me. I never saw Jack again, never heard from him, never knew where he ended up, but he lived in the quiet corner of my heart, not as regret, but as a reminder. There was a moment you could have chosen freedom, and instead you chose love of another kind, selfless love. If I could speak to the young woman standing in that train station, torn between two futures, I would say, you chose the harder path, and you chose it with your heart. That is its own kind of courage. That is my story, the story of the man I met on a night train I never took and never stopped remembering.